Hi guys, Ali Duzette here, and today we're going to talk about the Venus-Jupiter conjunction that just took place. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I had some questions come in about it. Let's see, today is March the 4th, and 2 days ago, there was a Jupiter and Venus conjunction that was visible just to the naked eye. So this is from the New York Post, but you can find any number of articles about it. Look at that. Everyone's talking about it. NPR, CNN, the planets will kiss tonight. So, there we go. Let's go back to it. So there is Venus and there is Jupiter, and they actually are truly conjunct. So everybody's been calling it a cosmic kiss and kind of an exciting thing to see outside at night. One question that I get asked a lot from people who don't know a lot about astrology is if I actually go outside at night, take out my binoculars and look at the sky to assess what's going on, and the answer is no. When you're analyzing a star chart, there are so many things going on in there that you can do it by hand, and it requires a thing called an ephemeris, which I own several paper ephemerides, I believe is the term for multiples of them. But really, we have fancy software. This is called Astrogold. And our fancy software is what generates everything, because some of these things on this chart are just calculations. Like the part of fortune is just a calculation. It's just math. It's not really a thing that's out there in space, and same with Black Moon Lilith. It's a calculation. A lot of these things are just math, and so you can't look at the sky and see them. A lot of these things are not visible to the naked eye. Of course, Pluto was only discovered in, I think, 1937. I could be wrong on that, but it was in the early 1900s. Let's see, Uranus, of course, discovered in 1787. So we have a lot of stuff going on in the night sky that astrologers use to analyze that you can't actually see with the naked eye. But this conjunction was exciting because you could actually see it with the naked eye, and actually they were truly conjunct. This is Jupiter. He looks like a 4. Dink. And this is Venus, the blue woman sign. There you go. And I mention this because often people get very excited when you can look outside and see planets lining up across the sky like that. But very often they are not making any really important astrological shape as far as like the aspects. Like they're not sextiling each other. They're not making any important geometrical relationships, and so from an astrological perspective, you would look at that chart and be like, it looks cool to your eyes, but it doesn't appear to be like super important on the paper, but this situation is one where the planets actually truly were right next to each other. Astrologically, I mean, on the zodiacal wheel that we have here. And so, of course, remember that even when planets look like they're next to each other, pop quiz, guys, are the planets actually right next to each other? They look really close, but remember, they are not close whatsoever. They really are not. They just happen to have lined up into that same pie slice of the sky that aligns with the constellation of Aries. Okay, so remember, they're looking close, but they are not close at all. They really are not. It is an optical illusion. Okay, so, but it's still important because just sharing that slice of the pie is important astrologically. So people ask me about the significance of it, and I'm really glad that they did. I've been on a rest where I felt like, I don't know, I feel like God's been telling me I just have to rest. So I haven't been keeping a close eye on it. And I'll tell you my hilarious story about this conjunction after I explain the conjunction. Jupiter and Venus are considered benefics. Okay, benefics means that they are super lucky. They are beneficial in your chart. Wherever Jupiter is, wherever Venus is, that's where you're going to see love and money and luck. And so we like those a lot. We like our benefics. And when you have Jupiter and Venus conjunct, it's just considered super lucky. Venus is the quintessential feminine energy, which is a receiving energy, which is why it is lucky, because Venus energy by default, the default Venus energy just receives. It receives money, it receives romance, adoration, affection. All it has to do is show up and be itself, and the love and money will flow in. Jupiter is more masculine energy of the same sort of type. Jupiter is kind of like the one that's bestowing the gifts. Venus receives them, Jupiter bestows them. Jupiter is out there dropping presents on everybody like Santa Claus, okay? Just like showering everybody with gifts. And so when you get them right next to each other, it's like Shazam. The doors are open, you're ready to just fully like have blessings just dropped upon you, and you're ready to open up and receive them. So that is the energy that, you know, we hit it direct on March the 2nd, so 2 days ago, and right this minute we're still within that little 3-day window where we're still feeling that energy quite strongly. So Venus governs, again, quintessential feminine stuff, including love and money, but also things like clothing and beauty, wanting to look good. And this energy, come on, this exact time has taken place in the sign of Aries, which is this red guy right here. And it's this little shape because it's the ram, okay? From a Christian perspective, this is the Lamb of God, okay? And April 6th is, oh my gosh, am I going to lie to you? No, April 6th is an Aries. Yeah, it's Aries. I'm sorry. So April 6th is Aries, if that is the date that you believe Jesus was born. Aries is the Lamb of God. But Aries is the beginner. It gets things started. And it can also be a bit of a hothead. It is the primary fire sign. I just mean it's the first one. The first one in the zodiacal wheel is Aries. And so it is a little famous for leaping before it looks, you know, it doesn't always think first before jumping into action. So when it comes to this exact configuration, we have a lot of really interesting things going on here. First off, so Jupiter is the greater benefic. It is the luckiest thing in the chart, and Venus is the lesser benefic, which is the second luckiest thing in the chart. And then, but interestingly, Venus in Aries is considered in detriment or debilitated, which means that, so Venus is in charge of Libra, which is opposite from Aries. And so this is, Venus doesn't belong over here. Venus belongs over here, and it's in its opposite sign where it kind of doesn't belong. It doesn't always make sense there. Oh, are you so hungry?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, guys. So Venus is in detriment or debilitated over here in Aries because Venus belongs in Libra, which is going to be more flowy and balance oriented. And Aries is the hothead. How do you be flowy, romantic Venus in the sign of the warrior, who's the hothead, jumping into things? That's an interesting question, and that's why Venus is considered in detriment. Jupiter, on the other hand, is considered peregrine. Like a peregrine falcon, if you've heard that word. It comes from the Latin for wanderer. A peregrine falcon is wandering, looking for its prey, and a peregrine planet is not exalted and not in detriment, which means it's not in the best place to be, and it's not in the worst place for it to be. It's just kind of floating around. And so when this conjunction is happening, because Jupiter is peregrine or wandering, and Venus is actively in detriment or debilitation, that means Venus is kind of like the winner here, the more powerful planet, and the whole conjunction is going to be colored by Venus's debilitation. So that just means that in this conjunction, we're going to especially be looking for these themes of love, money, romance, fashion, beauty, focus, just like the Venus focuses. And we may be prone to jumping into things about that. But the good news is Jupiter is still involved and it is still Venus. So this is probably a great time to take some action on topics like that. And so, okay, but as you can see, that's not all that's going on in this zone, because that's Venus and that's Jupiter. And in between, they're sandwiching this little green key, which is Chiron. Okay, and Chiron is the guy in charge of both your greatest mastery and your greatest wounding. And so in this exact conjunction, it's not really just a conjunction, it's what's called a stellium, which is when you have three things all squished together so tight, and it kind of melds the energy of all three quite tightly. And technically this is a Vesta, an asteroid that would count as part of this stellium as well. Do you see that this is 14 degrees and this is 25 degrees? That's not very tight. That's obviously 11 degrees, so not a tight conjunction, but all of these are within 4 degrees, and these, of course, are within 2 degrees, and so this is quite tight. So what does that mean for us? It means that we've probably, over the past couple days, and for the next couple of days as well, we may have our attention drawn to areas where we have failed in the areas of love and money, or where we need to improve, or where we are amazing. Maybe if you're like very masterful at these things, you've been sitting here like, man, I like totally rock this stuff. And you probably just did it naturally. So this is the funny story that just happened today. And somebody had asked me to make a video about the Venus and Jupiter kiss that just happened. And I had not taken a look at it. I haven't taken a look at the transits in a few days. And but hilariously, probably 3 days ago, I signed up to take a webinar on fashion for today, and I ended up buying this class on clothes, which I have always kind of viewed dressing well as, I don't know, just not important. And like, I have all these kids and it's like, how am I supposed to dress well when I have a baby? The other day, I put on this seafoam green dress, and I thought, oh yeah, I bought this because I loved this dress. Why don't I ever wear it? I put it on, and like 3 seconds later, my baby comes over and she's been like chewing chalk and like blah, and she has like chalk goo, and she like comes up and just, you know, right on my dress. And I was like, oh yeah, that's why I wear black. I remember now. So anyway, it was just kind of funny to look at this now and realize that here we have it. Venus, this exact conjunction was my day. And the past week, as I've been looking at this class and thinking about if I was going to buy it, this focus on fashion and beauty, the money that I would spend and like the resources spent on looking nicer and everything like that, and kind of this real introspective look with this Chiron, where I've had to kind of look at myself and think, you know, I think I could stand to step up my game. And I'll say, I just bought this shirt this past week because I thought, okay, I need to wear more colors. I need to wear prettier clothes. So this is part of my little transformation, I guess, which I thought was just hilarious because I hadn't sat down and looked at this until, 10 minutes before I started recording this video. And so interestingly, but here, let's bring it back to you, because I think a lot of people, they start learning a little bit about astrology and how it shows up in everyday life, and they want to know more and more and more. But the real secret is, it doesn't matter. You're already living it. That is the real secret. You don't need to be an expert in it to experience it. You are a master of experiencing lived astrology. You already know everything that there is to know about it practically. Your life is reflected in the stars, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, whether you understand it or not. And to me, that just takes a big load off, because I know when I first started learning about all of this, I wanted to learn more and more and more. You know, I get people that will ask me, you know, when should I schedule my surgery? Like, when are the stars aligning for my vacation, for my divorce, my baby's birth, all of these kinds of things. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And that is what I always tell people. Guess what? It doesn't matter. Just pray about it, like make your decisions about when you want to do things and just check and see if it feels good. If you're a praying person, ask God, is this a fine time to do this? And then just do it. I bought my last car during Mercury retrograde. Who cares? It was fine. And I just really feel like the stars have always existed. They are always functioning as a clock and as a reflection of what is happening on this plane. But they're not the boss of us. And I don't know, we can do what we want, and we already do. And you already have, right? Your entire life, if we looked up the charts of your life day by day, you would see how everything that's happened to you is reflected in the night sky. And it is so remarkable and beautiful. But also, you already lived your life, and it was fine. You didn't need to know that stuff to do the things that were right for you, So I loved that example today with me buying this class and then looking this up and saying, oh my gosh, it just aligns perfectly with the theme of this week with this Venus-Jupiter conjunction. But everybody's life is like that. Your life is already this perfect reflection, and the stars are already a perfect reflection of your life. And we don't need to understand it. The most important thing is being aligned with God. If you are every day checking in with our Creator and making sure that you are on the right path, taking your decisions to the Lord and asking for confirmation that you're doing the right thing, you don't need a star chart. You just don't. I think it's fun and interesting, and it can be very enlightening depending on what you're using it for. And it can be very inappropriate depending on what you are using the stars for at the same time, and a lot of people want to give up their free agency to the night sky. And I think that is why there are so many biblical cautions against the use of astrology, even though at the same time, God's using the stars to help the wise men find Jesus. And there are so many scriptural references to the night sky being ordained to be signs and witnesses. And I don't know, Psalms 19, where the night sky is uttering speech night after night, or Abraham 3, that they govern. They are the governing ones, they're governing all of existence, apparently. But even though the stars are so amazing and wonderful, there's appropriate uses and inappropriate uses, right? But anyway, side tangent, back to the point. That is what's going on with this Jupiter-Venus kiss. Now you know. This is a great time to do a little self-assessment on especially things relating to Venus, who is the boss of this conjunction. Where are you with what you look like? Could your self-care routines stand some improvement? Venus is the queen of self-care, and Aries is the one that just jumps in and takes action. So this is a great time to start a new habit, getting it started, and then we're heading into Aries season and then into Taurus season. So if you can just make your new habit, start your new habit now for your self-care. And if you can just keep it going for the 40 days or whatever that people need to create a habit, you're going to get into Taurus season, and it's going to be so much easier because Taurus is just so methodical and into routines. And this is a great time to start some self-care routines, and to just focus on what makes you feel beautiful. When you look in the mirror, what makes you feel like you love yourself. So there you go. And okay, I guess that's all I have to say about this, but I just love you guys so much. Thank you to my commenter, who I forgot who you are, but thank you for asking this question. I really loved taking a look at this tonight. So I hope that you have a good night, guys.